Mr. Clerk, will you read the caption to Senate Bill 542?
Senate Bill 542 by Senator Robertson of the 29th and others, being titled an act to amend Chapter 6 and Title 16 of the official code of Georgia annotated relating to sexual offenses so as to permit clergy members to be charged with certain improper sexual contact offenses. This bill having referred to the Committee on Judiciary, that committee recommends that this bill do pass by committee substitute.
We have a couple of speakers on this bill as well as Leader F. Stration, who will present the bill. The leader is recognized to present Senate Bill 542.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I bring to you SB 542. This legislation is about protecting individuals who seek out, in places of faith or in meeting with a trusted leader in faith, comfort, guidance, and healing, who are instead, when they're seeking out that religious direction, face manipulation, coercion, and betrayal. This is about survivors who carry the weight after this coercion, often in silence, and are impacted by what they've been through for years to come, who are unsure if the law will ever recognize that what they have been subjected to should be called out and should be punished, even criminally. As I begin today, I want to take a moment to thank the survivors and the advocates who have worked so very hard on SB 542. Some of them are in the gallery and others are watching online, but we have with us Kim Nunes, Haley Swinson, Ruth Malhotra, Chuck Wills, and there are so many others who have actively worked on passing this legislation. I want to say this clearly to the survivors out there who are following this bill. We see you, we hear you, and today the General Assembly has an opportunity to act on your behalf to ensure that others are better protected in the future. Clergy members occupy one of the most trusted roles in our society. They're invited into hospital rooms, counseling rooms. They work with those who are suffering with moments of grief, sense of loss, maybe uncertainty about their future, and are needing help, are needing moral direction from these individuals that we put in such high regard in our society. These people also, in these trusted roles, have great influence over those that they are counseling and those that they are directing. They operate in a relationship which is built on trust, and it's one in which there is naturally a form of influence over the person who's receiving that help. When someone sits across from a clergy member in a moment of vulnerability, this is not an equal exchange. It's a relationship where one person holds power, moral authority, and emotional influence over the other. And when that power is used to exploit, manipulate, coerce, or harm, it's not just a physical harm that's being created. It can also be an emotional and a spiritual harm that that victim will carry long term. Senate Bill 542 will change all this. This bill will allow in the law clear and necessary boundaries, which establishes that when a clergy member uses his or her undue influence, uses the position for the purposes of coercion, deception, intimidation, within that pastoral relationship to ultimately engage in sexual contact, that is not a consenting situation. That is the person using that authority that they have in that position for an improper purpose. And that's why this legislation is so important. Similarly to criminal offenses that we have for other positions where one person is in a superior position in the relationship. and where coercion or even a lack of consent is just not possible. Or to protect individuals, I should have said, from coercion in those circumstances. Ultimately, this legislation is important because it allows survivors the opportunity to go to law enforcement to express what has occurred, but also can deter this type of criminal conduct now from even occurring on the front end, thereby protecting those who would otherwise be vulnerable. It's for all these reasons that I encourage your support of Senate Bill 542. And Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to yield for questions.
Gentleman has a couple of questions, if he'd yield.
Yes, sir, I'll yield.
Thank you for your presentation. Representative Al Williams to your left is recognized for a question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Will the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir, I will.
Is it not true that clergy, regardless to religion or denomination, are held in the highest possible moral stature in this country?
Yes, sir, that is true.
Is it not further true that anyone that breaks this trust does not deserve to be in the position of ever hurting anyone again?
Yes, sir, the gentleman is absolutely correct. And to have in our criminal code also the standard with which that coercion, authority position being used improperly will be helpful for prosecutors evaluating this case and to protect other potential victims, as you outlined.
Will the gentleman further yield?
Yes, sir.
It's a good piece of legislation. Thank you for bringing it.
Thank you very much.
Representative Carlton Howard to your left in the back is recognized for a question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Leader. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
A perfect bill. I appreciate the bill as well. When it comes to in the bill, when it relates to false accusations, is there anything in the bill that addresses that?
Yes, sir. Well, similar to an evaluator that a prosecutor must make in determining these types of crimes, the statement that's provided by witnesses and the other evidence has to be evaluated to ensure that there is not false allegations that ultimately lead to a prosecution or conviction. Now, I'll just say that this is something prosecutors, as a former prosecutor myself, am very familiar with dealing with. You have to make those types of evaluations really case by case to ensure that the evidence is reliable before it's formally accused through a bill of indictment and brought before a jury at trial. Thank you for the question.
You have one last question, Representative Teddy Reese to your left in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the gentleman yield?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree that when an individual is in a place where they're practicing their faith and the space where they are at their highest level of vulnerability, those individuals should be in a space where they're protected and not preyed upon by individuals that seek opportunity to take advantage of them during that time and circumstance?
I completely agree with the gentleman, and I would just say when a person enters a house of worship, when a person seeks out an individual serving in a pastoral role, they're doing so in a position of need. They're doing so seeking direction, and often that occurs, particularly when they're in a position of real vulnerability and susceptible or more susceptible to somebody who may try to take advantage of the situation. Yes, sir.
And I want to thank the gentleman for bringing this bill, and I fully support it.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, I'll yield the well, and I'd ask for the body's favorable consideration of this very important measure. Thank you.
The gentleman's yielded well. Thank you for bringing the bill. We have two folks who want to speak in favor of the bill. We're going to allocate 15 minutes, but we'll be liberal on that if you need more. So I'm going to recognize Representative Stacey Evans first to speak to the bill. If y'all can allocate that time between you, that'd be great, but we will not shortchange. Ladies recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I rise in strong support of Senate Bill 542. I think this bill provides us an opportunity to do and hear what we came here to do. Find a hole in the law that's really hurting real people day in and day out and fix it. That's what we get to do today. And I'm really proud of us in the Judiciary Committee. We looked at this bill which will criminalize the activities of monsters who don't deserve our sympathy or our remorse, but we took a strong and level hand to make sure that we made the definitions tight, that we weren't being overbroad, that we weren't bringing people into the criminal system that didn't deserve to be there. And that took a long time, as we tend to do in judiciary, and I think we've got a great product here. What I wanted to do today is to highlight some of the voices of the survivors and of the advocates, because those of us in the committee got to hear those voices, but I think it's important for us in this body to hear them too, because that's why we're here, to help them and others who we hope will not have to trod the path that they did. And I want you to hear what we heard, and I'm going to do some snippets here. But first, a survivor, Haley Swinson, who told us, adult clergy sexual abuse is real. It does not begin with force. It begins with trust placed in a spiritual authority figure. In my experience, what began as a spiritual guidance became years of manipulation, isolation, and sexual exploitation, framed as something I was told to trust as being from God. Scripture was twisted from Genesis to Revelation to convince me that this was God's will. Authority used to groom, boundaries slowly eroded, and what felt violating was reframed as obedience. She said, this is not consent, this is coercion through power. In my case, in Haley's case, it took 35 journalists and publications to shine light on the darkness because there was no clear legal path to justice or accountability. And this is what we can do something about today, ladies and gentlemen. From Chuck Willis, another survivor of clergy abuse, from his words, the person who abused me didn't come to me as a stranger. He came to me as someone I was taught to trust, a spiritual authority, a leader. When someone holds that kind of authority over you, it changes everything. It changes how you understand right and wrong. It changes what you feel allowed you to say no. It changes whether you even recognize what's happening as abuse. What happened to me was not just misconduct, it was the abuse of authority. This bill is not about attacking faith, he said. This is about protecting people from those who would use faith as a tool to harm. We heard from experts in the field, Dr. Holly Haynes, who holds a doctorate from Harvard University in Human Development and Psychology and has provided a scientific context for the harm described by the survivors. This is her quote, "The science is unequivocal. Clergy sexual abuse inflicts a category of harm that Georgia law does not yet recognize and must. Survivors are robbed of their relationship with God. They are robbed of their relationship with God. They are estranged from the communities and practices that once gave their lives meaning. The power differential here is not just professional, it is perceived as divine. Clergy are believed to speak for God and to hold authority over the soul itself. When that authority is used to exploit, the survivor does not just lose trust in one person, they can lose their entire framework for understanding the world. Because of the shame and the spiritual confusion that accompanies this betrayal, they are the least likely to come forward and the most in need of legal protection. The science supports it, and the survivors deserve it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's join together and pass Senate Bill 542. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I yield the well.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Scott Hilton, Chairman Hilton is recognized to speak in favor of the bill. The gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Leader Efstration did a fantastic job walking us through the bill. Representative Evans did an even better job of amplifying the voices of those victims here. I rise today in full support of the legislation to highlight one specific voice, a constituent and very good friend of mine who's up in the gallery right now, Kim Nunez, and to tell her story. Kim approached me about a year ago, and just like you, I serve some of the brightest and most courageous people in all of the state. And Kim came to me to share her story, and I'm honored to share it here with you today. She is a whistleblower and an advocate that has demonstrated extraordinary courage. After more than a decade of working in a faith-based organization, she came forward when she discovered what was first described as an inappropriate relationship, but was later to be revealed to be a long-standing pattern of manipulation, coercion, and abuse. And Kim did what we hope anyone would do. Kim spoke up. But instead of immediate accountability, she encountered resistance, networks that protected the abuser, and a system that in so many ways was not equipped to respond. Through that experience, Kim helped shine a light and a gap in our law, and she is part of the reason we are here this afternoon. Senate Bill 542 is not about targeting the faith community, it's about protecting it. It's about ensuring that those who lead with integrity are not overshadowed by those who abuse their position. And most importantly, it's about standing up for victims, many who have gone unheard for way too long. I'm grateful for Kim and all the victims and advocates who've spoken up. You're the reason we're here today, and you are making change. You are protecting current victims and those in the future. Thank you for your courage. Mr. Speaker, colleagues, I ask for your full support of Senate Bill 542. Thank you. I yield the well.
The gentleman has yielded the well. That concludes our discussion on Senate Bill 542. Is there any objection to the previous question being ordered? Hearing none, the previous question is ordered. Is there any objection to adopting the committee's substitute? Hearing none, the committee's substitute is adopted. Is there any objection to agreeing to the report of the committee, which was favorable to the passage of the bill? Hearing none, the report of the committee is agreed to. Shall this bill now pass? All in favor of the passage of the bill will vote yes. All those opposed will vote no, and Mr. Clerk will unlock the machine. Have all members voted? For what purpose does Representative Sanchez rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Isn't it true that we are very proud and very glad to have survivors here with us here today, and also those who are not here with us, for their courage and their advocacy on this issue?
The gentleman knows of what he speaks. We sure are. And we're going to welcome here to the House in just a minute. For what purpose does Representative Parrish rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Is it not a sad day that this Georgia House has to pause from the people's work to address the criminal misbehavior of those supposedly led by God?
Well, I understand what you're saying, but I think it's a good day that we take care of the business of the people of this state to make sure they're safe and provide penalties when those abuse that privilege. For what purpose does Chair Lady Mathiak rise?
Parliamentary inquiry.
State your inquiry.
Is it not true that this very well could be a great step for healing for our victims of Georgia?
I think the lady knows of what she speaks, and I hope the actions of this day will accomplish some of just that. Have all members now voted? If so, Mr. Clerk will lock the machine. On the passage of Senate Bill 542, the yeas are 168, the nays are 0. The bill having received the requisite constitutional majority is therefore passed. Y'all stand. Thank you for your courage, and know that this House stands with you. Thank you for being here with us, and thank you for encouraging us to do the right thing. Thank you so much. God bless you all.